Welcome all. So my session today is deployment automation for 4D. And some of you guys don't know me, hopefully most of you do. My name is Balinder Walia, and I run a software development company for the last 17 years. Been developing apps for 4D applications for longer than that before I started my company. And my on-screen look is slightly different. This is my hipster look because we're in Portland. And today, let's start with three famous W's. So I'm sure you heard of three famous W's. Work, weather, and woman. No. Trust neither of those. No, I'm just kidding. The three W's are what, why, and who, which I normally ask before any project. So what is a deployment system? Most of you, if you have attended the previous part one for this session, you probably have gone through all the deployment, auto-update, new architecture in 4D in the Achim Pesch's presentation from 4D Germany. So you know what it is. If you have any questions, you can always raise your hands and I can answer. So why? Let's go to why. The customers are becoming more and more smarter. They're using applications on a daily basis which are updated all the time, most of the time silently, and end users do not want the hassle of updating applications over the phone, or you do not, as a developer, want to get involved in long tech support calls. So there are many obvious reasons we all need a deployment system. But I'm going to show you today, in a more practical way, in this session, how to actually build it. And it's not actually that painful and time-consuming. And the last W, not the woman, obviously, but you still can come to the party tonight, girls. Anyway, who? So who you're building this for? It's very, very important to understand their environment, their platform. They might have a technical support in-house team who will want to control some aspects of the auto-update applications, and security. So it's very important to understand that. And obviously, if you can't get your application in hands of your users, what is the real value for it? It's absolutely nothing. So that is why we should have a deployment system. And your deployment audience are end users, of course. As I said, technical support staff and operations who are going to eventually benefit from that. Remember, an automated deployment system can have a huge impact on your business. Next is, it's an important one, it's the strategy. You must plan and start early in your application development. How are you going to build, and what are the main elements and users? And of course, developers are an important part of your deployment system as well. So you need to have users in front of you, literally, all the different users. And they could be physically dispersed. So your users could be anywhere in the world. So CD and updates using normal media, I think is out of date. We need to look at auto-update deployment system using the internet. And it's perfectly feasible these days. And of course, you need to think about how you're going to control this platform-specific updates. So Macintosh users may have different requirements. Your application configuration might be different. And Windows users might be expecting a different type of updates. And deployment is, remember, as Achim Pesch said yesterday, is not just about just giving them an application. Hey, here we go. Here's an application and pay us the check, right? No. Think about the maintenance of it, the life cycle. So that's why it's important to have a strategy. The one question we often think about is how often I should update end users, right? I personally think that, just update regularly. Users are used to getting the new features quickly, they like it, and if you make the process easier, they will do it. And test and deploy in one cycle. So one of the thing about this deployment system we have today in 4D using the new commands is allows you to test and deploy, develop, test, and deploy. What is tested at the same time is also released. So I'm going to show you that today. So no hassle deployment. You really need to build a system which is as painless as possible for you guys as developers and end users. And you are in control. Once you have a deployment system, you control your application, updates. Imagine, just Macintosh users only expecting a new security fix. So it allows you to really make this process a whole lot easier. So what is really required for a deployment system? As far as I can think, there is a few things you need. First of all, is a robust versioning system. So you can easily control what version has been deployed, and the new release will be updated, and customer can easily check, so, okay, I'm running this version, and I need to update now. Manage all the process. Of course, you need the infrastructure like FTP and HTTP server, and I will show you in a minute. Developer release notes. I think it's really important, and I found it exceptionally useful in our deployment system in real world. If you tell users just a simple bullet point list of what is in it in the new update. So before they apply that update, they can see what's changed. If there are new features, you can highlight that. So I think release notes is a great way to make it more attractive. And of course, give them the choice. If they do not want to update, give them the choice. Think about file security these days. If you host these release updates, zip files on your servers, somebody can tamper with it. So think about implementing file checksums or even further SSL certificate encryptions. And automate. I think, that is one thing which really motivated me to build and automate this, because we have staff in India, and no matter how many times you tell them you need to take these steps, right? And no matter how many technical notes you can write, we often make mistakes as developers. So one of the things which really benefited us was I could implement all the business process of our development, of our business, in a component and a deployment system, rather. And then I just tell them to, whenever you want to release a version on this platform, you just press these buttons. Simple. Make it simple for yourself too. Okay, so just quickly whiz through this. Faster time to market for developers. Your company will benefit from it. And you are in control, as we discussed. And you might have hundreds of servers deployed in a distributed data center. Imagine, the future cloud applications. You're spinning servers and selling a lot of servers, OEM guys, and hundreds of servers. You don't need to worry about the large-scale deployment updates then, once you have a deployment system. It's got to be cross-platform, and in the end, it saves time and really helps you in implementing the quality in the standards you really want to provide to your customers. Okay, so enough about developer benefits, and for end users, just the benefit is that once it's done, it's easy to set up, easy to apply the updates for them, and as I said, release notes, they should be able to see what is changed. They should have an option if they want to update or not. And user-friendly interface is very important. Do not create too many windows and too many clicks. Just sort of a notification and give them the choice whether they want to update now or defer till later. Okay, this component which I'm going to provide you with this presentation today, it has been tested and working without the component code in our applications for good 7-8 months now. And we're very happy with it. So it's developed by experienced developers, tested in real-world environments, and we have happy customers and happy developers. Okay, so let's now talk about the component. So the component I provide you, it's called deploy4d, and the name is quite clearly telling you what it does. So in the normal way, we install the components, the plugins it requires, and then we pass the value to this component using C-object. So all the configuration is done on startup once, and the rest is all taken care of. And the two most important aspects, as we discussed, is developers and end users. They both benefit. So that is all taken care by this component, errors and notifications, and a release manager, which is quite exciting in this one. So let's do a demo. Right, so we have an application which is end users is using. It's just a demo database called Video Library, and users are using it, and we are working on it all the time, making changes, and they are using a version which is, if you guys cannot see, can you guys all see? Let me just bring the flash screen that has a slightly bigger. So it's 1.4.6, and in the end it's build number, which is 065824. Now, the version number system provided by this component, actually, it's also telling us the date and time. It's just an added bonus we have in this component. So you can tell by the version number, the build number as well, that this was released. My major version never changes unless you want to change it. And the major version of this product is 1. It was released on 6th of April, and the time 6:58, so 6 o'clock, 58 minutes, 24 seconds. So that's just an added bonus. So let's make a change in this application. And, first of all, let's just install and go through this code. And if you guys can't see, please do let me know. So this is all it takes. Can you guys read? So on startup, there is the application name you pass into this component as a C object. We also have the friendly name, the one which appears on user dialogues, because the file name which is packaged and uploaded to the deployment servers should not have any special characters. So that's why we have 2 different names. And the host, where it's going to be hosted, the applications will be hosted on a HTTP server. It's your choice. You can allow different means of file transfer, but we have chosen the HTTP server for notifications especially. It's real efficient. And the FTP server details are also used in the component for updating the release files to the deployment servers. So we use FTP to upload the files, and users download the files using HTTP. So you need to have a configured server for that. And the rest of the details, okay, so version control method. We keep version number in the structure. We do not keep in external files. The reason for that is because users normally end up messing around with some files sometimes. So when you have the structure and the version number always embedded within a method, you are always going to guarantee to get the version number which they are using. So the version control method is just a method you want to dedicate to keep the version number. You can leave it to default, because component will take care of it. And in the end, we just pass that C object in deploy4d underscore on startup. So right at the end. And then we restart. So let's do that. So I am in the development mode here, and I have component now initialized. So just a second, go back to. Let's restart again. Remember, I'm running the end user version as well here. So I've got two copies of the application. One is the development version, one is the end user version on the same machine. Of course, in the real world, it will be not the case. The end users will be running that version somewhere away from you guys. So, right, so the deploy4d component provides you almost all the different settings you will need to set up your deployment system once. And it's very configurable. It has all the options we added on startup, and various other parameters are like, the server root, where are the updates uploaded and available, because you could have multiple applications using the same component, and same component for using in different applications, so you may have different subfolders for them. So that's why you can change that per application. And so let's go through some of the important settings of this. So in the application build, we pass where the final application for each type of update are. So Mac, single user, database engine merged application, Mac server, Windows server, and Windows single user. So you can define those once, and they are the same build XML settings which are used by 4D. And moving down to the target platform, this is quite important because you can, if you think about it, at certain times, just update and release a version for one platform only. Or you may want to turn it off completely altogether. If you want to do that, there is a flag in the system. And rest is pretty much clear itself. It's Mac single user. If you're working with server versions, then you check this one as well here. And this component also provides a very simple testing sandbox system. So if you check these checkboxes here with the dev release here, that means you are providing the next release to a group of people. They could be developers or testers in your organization. They could be even somewhere else, but they will get that update first. And they can provide the feedback and work with you guys until you release the final version. So there's other settings here. Show dev panel on startup. This is just this developer panel. If you want to automatically bring it up on top of your application. And there are a few other settings on the next tab. So again, execute method when update is available. This is where we can override the component methods. So if you want to bring your own dialogues, which are not provided by the component, then you may want to create your own more sophisticated update dialog for the end users. That's where you can change. That method will execute if you provide. You can leave it to default, and that works pretty well as well. The next option is remind end users about the updates. Obviously, you can decide that you want to provide them the notification about your updates daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on your choice, end users. And 4D method to maintain a version, as I said that before, it's just where we keep the version number, and that's also automatically taken care of. So for now, we'll just leave it as is. Release with checksum. Now that's an important one because we do want to allow the end user application to validate the integrity of the files. So when they're stored on the server, you never know, a hacker might come in and change some files, so mess around with the files. So if you have that option available, the component will upload the checksum as well, keep it with it, and when the end users get the notification and apply those updates, that integrity will be validated. Okay, the next is versioning system. So this is where you can update, set the details. You can obviously have your major version of the product starting from wherever you are currently. So if you already have, let's say, version 10, you can just put 10 there. And the rest is automatically taken care of by the system once you have it. So we'll see that working in a few minutes. And the other few tabs are only important when we have the updates available. So let's skip the 2 tabs, but go to the release notes. That's quite an important one. So the component provides a way of keeping the release notes very, very easily for developers. And it also has a WYSIWYG editor, as you guys can see. It's a very simple open source WYSIWYG editor. And it allows you to create templates branded to your application. So you see the video library logo there. That's my application. But you will create a HTML template, which will be matching with your application brand. And you will create those templates to quickly create release notes. So if I just, for the sake of this argument, look at what it's just a simple list of what's changed, and you can override it. And we will release this version in a few minutes, and with one change. And this WYSIWYG editor will then turn the release notes into 2 formats. One is the PDF, and the other will be the HTML. The HTML release notes will be displayed in a web area at the end user's machine. So they will be able to see before they update. So we'll have a look at that. So let's just make a change to demonstrate. So end users is using, as I said, version 104.6.0.6.5824. And they have asked me to add an ability to send the videos via email, just for the sake of argument. So let's say they have asked that, and end users is at the moment using the latest version, because if you click on that button, check for updates, which is a method, by the way, provided by the component. So you just have to call that method from anywhere, and end users will see that they are using the latest version, and there's nothing to do. If the version was available, they will have a few more options available to work with. So let's just see the demo first, and we can go through those options later. So let's make a change here. And in order to save time, I have already created a button. It's invisible, so I'm just going to turn it into a button, mail, video URL, whatever it is, or video, just doesn't matter. So now I have made that change, and in the release notes, I will be putting that here, saying, hey, new mail video feature available. So that's all the developers have to do. And once they do that, they can press a button called release. And so sorry, you can't see that. Let me just zoom back in. I just clicked on a release button. And let's look at here. I just clicked on that. You guys probably didn't notice, but I clicked on that button, and the component has started building that application based on the XML settings you already have. It knows that I am releasing the Mac version, single user at the moment, and I haven't released this to the developers, so it's straight going to the end users. So this is where it's going to take a few minutes, depend on the internet connection here. So we can now switch to our documentation. Just go through some of the settings here. So it's uploading to FTP, and the internet here is a little slow, but still it's a good demonstration. I could have created just a kind of a, I could have cheated here and pretended that we're uploading on FTP. But I really wanted to show you guys something real, so it's going to take a few minutes. But let's go through the documentation to make that obviously to see how obvious it is and clear it is and how it works. So, okay, so there are two tech notes provided to you guys with this presentation. One is the main workings of the whole deployment system and how I came about this idea and all these different things we have discussed today. Another one is installing and configuring this component. And just a note, guys, that these updates, on your USB sticks, the files are out of date now, so we will provide a special FTP for you guys, and we'll send you via email where the updated version of the files are. So okay, so let's just go through the main documentation, and there's two important aspects of your deployment system. So everything is explained here. Okay, so let's just make this bigger. So how the developer process works is explained in this flowchart here. And while we're updating the file, which is actually being uploaded and ready for end users, just quickly whiz through this now. So as you saw, I clicked on the release button, and this is what happens behind the button. So system checks for the version number, and it asks if you want to increment the version number. And on startup of the application, it will also automatically update the version number, because this behavior, it works really well, because whenever somebody is making a change and restarting the application, generally it's a good idea to increment the version number, even if you haven't made a change. So it's always a good idea to just increment the build number. So the component does that automatically for you guys, but it can be changed. The behavior can be changed by simple XML settings. And the file is then built depending on the settings in the build.xml, and then packaged. We use a plugin from our 4D fellow friend Mayaka, a zip.bundle. And it zips the update package, updates on the FTP server, and if the update was successful, it just confirms with the developer. And in the end, an XML file is sent with the update, which is how the end users get notified about there's a new version available. That XML file has the important settings like what version number is this released, what is the checksum, and all the rest of the details which are required. And of course, the release notes are updated as well. So just going to show you quickly what an FTP looks like when the component updates that. So we should see a new version. Obviously, internet is a issue. It seems to have done. Okay, well, we will just go to the end user now, and we'll quit the developer. And, oh, actually, it's updated itself. So we'll just make another change. Because while I was talking, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, the end user has been updated already, because in the configuration, the end user said, keep my version up to date, and it just did it. So just to demonstrate that it has worked, end user application has that button which we created. So there's a button to send that email out. So, but we will make another change just to prove the point. So let's start the development version again. And let's just make another change anywhere to prove the point. Okay, so I'm going to call it new email 3. And now I'm going to release another version. So when I click release, it asks me, the current version is this. Would you like to increment the version number? And I'll say yes. And then again, obviously, we just keep the release notes, what's been changed. So, okay, so I'm just going to add update form 3, whatever the change is, obviously you decide. And now I'm going to click release again here. And this time, I'll quit the end user application because I don't want it to automatically update. So let's just wait until it's updating. And in the meantime, we have another flow chart here we can go through, which is the end user process, which is managed by the component. So while we're updating that package, we will go through this quickly, because end user will get the notification about the new change and the new version. So this is what happens at the end user side. A daemon process spins on startup, and it's spawned by the component. And then the version number is currently stored on the local, obviously in a method, although it's compiled application, but still it just compares it with the available version on the web server via the XML. And if the new version is available, and if user has opted for that option, that update, notify me when the new updates are available, and after that, they will get a notification, but they can then click on update my application now, update in an hour, or defer it till tonight, or remind me tomorrow, or ignore. This whole process is managed by the component. We use this, there's one point about the components is that we use some subcomponents. So one of the subcomponent is timestamp. So that's another component which was previously written by me, and then we don't want to rewrite all the code again and again. So this is another really great feature of 4D. So once we created the component, we can use as a subcomponent, and deploy 4D component uses that to convert the version number into date and time in a numeric format, which can be easily compared. And it's very accurate. The other two subcomponents are obvious FTP client. That's used to just manage the file transfers to the server. And XML component is to manage the XML files. So just go back to the documentation and look at our, okay, so this should have been done. There's a message here which says the updates are uploaded to FTP server and ready for end users to download. It beeps as well, by the way, which you will hear when you try this component. So let's go back to the flowchart just to finish off the process. And in fact, why don't we start the application now? So end users logged in now on their machine, and they're still using the old version, which we released actually a few minutes ago, but we just made another change. So now when end users is notified of the new version, depending on the settings, or we can just, for the convenience today, click on this button. And this should now check for the new update, although internet is a little slow. Okay, this is what I wanted to show before it automatically updates itself. So at this stage, you see that release notes are shown to the end user as an HTML web area. They are also uploaded as a PDF for some customers who want to, or developers who want to keep a record of that as a PDF as well. So users actually see clearly what they are going to get. And because I already checked the flag, check for the updates automatically, it started downloading the automatic update file in the background. So you see there is the beach ball spinning there, and so in a few minutes, hopefully, it should update itself. So that is pretty much the demonstration, and we just go back to our flowchart to make sure we understand. So Pesh covered most of these things in yesterday's session. So we use set update folder command in 4D, which is a key command, restart 4D, and the show update log commands to view if obviously if the update fails, you do want to know. So, but remember, even if you have 1,000 customers, even 70% of the customers are automatically kept up to date. That's going to have a huge impact on your business, hopefully. So if the update worked, then it just waits for the next update. So that daemon process is always running in the background. It is downloading the file via the HTTP client, which is HTTP GET, which is exactly what we saw in the yesterday's session as well. So it's pretty optimized because on the web server I have the compression, all the caching enabled, and if lots and lots of people are downloading these files, you don't want your web server to be overwhelmed with the requests. So it works pretty well in most of the cases. Okay, so we now just waiting for this update to be applied, and depending on the internet speed, it can take a bit longer. In the meantime, let's go to the other documentation we have. What are the commands and possibilities in this component? Otherwise, we'll just move on to the question and answers. Okay, the commands available in this component are right at the end. Okay, there is a procedure called deploy 4D developer. You can see it, the first one in the list. That brings that development tools panel, which you saw in the demonstration, where you can configure all your settings. Remember, these forms are designed in the component, so you don't have to really do a lot of work to design these forms, even end user forms. And you can pretty much change the branding and the style of these forms as well. It's only a kind of early stages at the moment, but hopefully with this component, I'm planning to release as an open source, so we guys all can get involved and make it even better. So the next is that daemon process, which I was talking about. It runs at the end user machine, on the end user machine, and it takes care of the verification of the version number, checking of the version number if it's available or not, takes care of the notifications. and installation in the end, and backing up some of the important files as we saw yesterday as well, the resources folder. One thing I cannot stress enough is start making a habit of, on your end users' machines, putting the data file in a separate folder, and do not mix with the installation path, because as we discussed yesterday as well, touched on the subject, that we do not want to, even though we can back it up and restore it back with the new 4D architecture commands, it's just a good idea to keep them separate, because eventually these applications are going to be read-only, and the data file should be in the user's documents folder where they have read and write access, and that also makes this process really seamless. So as you see on my screen, the data file and the whole folders related to it, they're kept separately. And going back to our demo, something going on here, maybe internet. Right, okay, let's restart. Okay, we have released the version automatically once, and let's check the internet isn't working, guys. Something. Okay, let's just check the FTP that we have. Okay, so we just released a version, and it does seem to have the HTML and PDF and all the packaged files updated. Okay, well, we'll just start this version, end-user version again, and let it go through that process again. There are times when this update will fail, but hopefully if one attempt was not successful, then users will hopefully retry, or you can get them to retry again. So let's do another. Okay, so it says it's downloading the latest version. Okay, in the meantime, let's just go back to our slide, and we can always look at this. So new updated files will be available on the special FTP, but in case you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. There's an email address there, bwalia@10thmatrix.co.uk, or tweet me, or send a message on LinkedIn. And anyway, let's just go back to our demo. As you guys can see, the end users get this message, if you can read, video library app, which we passed to one of the parameters on startup, is waiting, its update is waiting, please save your work and restart. So we'll do that, and we will then find out if the update has worked or not. I mean, I've tried this probably a few hundred times, and it works on all the platforms. So we'll just wait for it to restart. So the build number is incremented to 1154, and remember the change we made on the second change we made on the form was 3. So the update has worked. So end users will have the new version, and they're happy. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my session.